Check your hot dogs. Kraft is recalling 96,000 pounds of Oscar Mayer wieners.
Now, here's the reason. It's because the 16-ounce packages of classic wieners may instead contain the company's classic cheese dogs. The Department of Agriculture says the labels are incorrect.
The hot dog that killed 23 people is still sitting on grocery store shelves right now. While families grab packs for weekend barbecues, they have no idea they're potentially buying from the same brands linked to deadly outbreaks. But which ones are the killers, and which ones are actually safe? Sugardale has been making hot dogs since 1920, which means they've had over a century to perfect their recipe. So why do their hot dogs still fall apart like a cheap suit at a wedding? Here's the thing about Sugardale. They've mastered everything except the one thing that actually matters. You'll find their red and white packages dominating cooler space from Ohio to Indiana, usually stacked in those massive family packs that make your wallet happy. But here's what they don't advertise. Volume and quality rarely shake hands. The texture problem is real, folks. These dogs have this mushy, inconsistent feel that makes grilling them feel like a gamble. Will they hold together? Will they turn into hot dog soup? Your guess is as good as mine. And most of their options are skinless, which means you're missing that satisfying snap when you bite down. You know, that little pop that tells your brain this is a proper hot dog. Americans spend over $1 billion every year on packaged hot dogs. That's billion with a B. Sugardale counts on budget shoppers who figure cheap equals smart shopping. But when half your hot dogs disintegrate on the grill, you're not saving money. You're buying disappointment in bulk. The real kicker? This Ohio brand prioritizes shelf space over taste. They've got the distribution game figured out, but somewhere along the way, they forgot that texture matters more to your mouth than their profit margins. But texture problems aren't the only surprise waiting in grocery store coolers. Vienna Beef owns Chicago. Walk down any street corner, and you'll see those red umbrellas serving up authentic Chicago dogs with that perfect snap. But here's the thing nobody talks about. The Vienna beef you grab at your local grocery store is like ordering deep dish pizza from a gas station. The casing versions at those Chicago stands? Pure magic. Real snap, balanced flavor, everything you've heard about. But the retail packages sitting in your supermarket cooler? They're salt bombs that'll make your blood pressure monitor start beeping. And I'm talking aggressively salty here, folks. Like someone emptied a Morton's container into the meat grinder. For older Americans watching their sodium, which, let's face it, is most of us after 50, these retail Vienna beef dogs can pack more salt than a margarita rim. The cruel irony? You're buying the brand thinking you're getting that legendary Chicago experience. Instead, you're getting a product so salt-forward it drowns out any actual beef flavor. It's like buying a concert ticket and getting stuck behind a pillar. Same venue, completely different experience. Limited distribution means most of America never tastes the real Vienna beef anyway. We get the mass-market version that prioritizes shelf life over taste buds. Makes you wonder what other legendary brands are trading their reputation for grocery store profits, right? Well, our next brand takes that concept to a whole new level of disappointment. Bar S positions itself as the budget champion. But here's the dirty secret your wallet doesn't want you to know. That $2 pack might seem like smart shopping, but you're actually getting played harder than a fiddle at a country fair. See? When half those hot dogs fall apart on your grill like a bad marriage, you end up buying more food to compensate. Makes sense, right? You grab chips, extra buns, maybe some backup burgers because deep down, you know those Bar S dogs won't satisfy anyone. But the real kicker? These ultra-cheap brands use mixed meat blends and enough fillers to stuff a couch cushion. The texture feels like someone mixed sawdust with mystery meat, then shaped it into something vaguely resembling food. One bite, and your mouth knows something's wrong, even if your brain can't quite name it. Here's where it gets sneaky. Discount stores position these brands right at eye level in those massive family packs. They're basically screaming, "Look how much you're saving." But you're not saving anything when you're buying volume instead of quality. And let's be honest, older Americans on fixed incomes often choose Bar S out of necessity. But here's what they deserve to know. One decent hot dog beats 3 terrible ones every single time. You'll actually enjoy your meal instead of choking it down. The math is simple. Buy quality once instead of junk twice, and you'll taste the difference immediately. Speaking of brands that promise quality but don't quite deliver, Oscar Mayer's marketing team deserves a raise. They've convinced millions that no artificial preservatives, colors, or flavors equals quality. But here's the kicker. Removing the bad stuff doesn't magically make the good stuff better. Their famous wiener? It's a chicken, turkey, and pork smoothie masquerading as a hot dog. That explains why biting into an Oscar Mayer feels like chewing flavored foam. The texture has all the excitement of wet cardboard. And the taste? Well, let's just say it's the Wonder Bread of hot dogs. At $2.95 for 8 francs, Oscar Mayer competes on nostalgia, not nutrition. Remember humming that jingle as a kid? That's exactly what they're counting on. Your wallet might appreciate the price, but your taste buds are filing a formal complaint. The all-beef version costs $3.94 for 15 ounces, which sounds like a deal until you realize you're paying premium prices for discount quality. It's like buying a luxury car that only drives in first gear. Oscar Mayer spends more on that catchy jingle than sourcing decent beef. You're essentially paying for advertising, not ingredients. Makes sense, right? They figured out decades ago that a good song sells more hot dogs than good meat. Try this experiment. Eat an Oscar Mayer, then immediately try a Nathan's or Hebrew National. It's like comparing elevator music to Sinatra. Technically, they're both music, but one makes you want to dance. Speaking of brands that actually deliver on their promises, Ballpark Franks seem like the safe choice, don't they? They're everywhere, reasonably priced, and promise that bun-length design that sounds so practical. Well, here's the thing. They're stuck in hot dog purgatory. These Franks are like that reliable neighbor who never causes trouble, but also never does anything memorable. The texture holds up fine on the grill, sure. They won't fall apart like those budget disasters we just talked about. But when you bite into one, you're getting the culinary equivalent of elevator music. Pleasant enough, but instantly forgettable. And the weird part is, Ballpark prices themselves right in that dangerous middle zone. You're paying more than Sugardale or Bar S, but getting way less flavor than Nathan's or Hebrew National. It's like buying a car that costs more than a used Honda, but performs worse than a luxury sedan. You're in no man's land. Most blind taste tests rank Ballpark smack in the middle. Not terrible, not great. Just there. For older Americans who've been loyal to Ballpark for decades because they're reliable, here's a gentle reality check. Reliability without excellence is just expensive mediocrity. Your taste buds deserve better than settling for good enough, especially when truly great hot dogs cost maybe 50 cents more per package. It's like choosing to watch reruns when there's something amazing on the next channel. But speaking of amazing, let's talk about a brand that actually delivers on its legendary reputation. Here's where things get interesting. Nathan's Famous isn't just trading on nostalgia from their Coney Island days. Their supermarket hot dogs actually deliver that legendary New York flavor you remember. And here's the best part. You don't need to hunt them down like some gourmet treasure. Walk into any grocery store from Maine to California, and there they are, sitting right next to the Oscar Mayers and ballparks. But don't let that accessibility fool you. Nathan's brings genuine beefiness to the table. We're talking about that assertive, smoky flavor that makes your taste buds sit up and pay attention. It's like the difference between elevator music and Frank Sinatra. Both might fill the silence, but only one makes you stop what you're doing and listen. A 12-ounce pack runs about $4.97. That puts them slightly above your Oscar Mayers, but nowhere near premium pricing. You're getting restaurant-quality flavor without the restaurant markup. But here's what really matters. Mass-market taste tests consistently rank Nathan's near the top. That's not brand loyalty talking or childhood memories clouding judgment. That's actual beef quality doing the work. The texture hits that sweet spot, too. They char beautifully on the grill without turning into rubber bands. No mushy disappointments or mystery meat surprises, just honest beef flavor that works whether you're feeding the grandkids or treating yourself. Speaking of honest beef flavor, there's another brand that takes ingredient transparency even further. Hebrew National has been making kosher beef dogs since 1905. And here's what most people miss. That kosher certification isn't just religious marketing. It's like having a food inspector with incredibly high standards checking every ingredient that goes into your hot dog. Think about it this way. Kosher rules are stricter than your pickiest dinner guest. No mystery meat blends. No cheap fillers that sound like chemistry experiments. When Hebrew National puts, "We answer to a higher authority" on their packaging, they're not kidding around. These beef franks are genuinely juicy and meaty. Not the fake juicy you get from brands that pump their dogs full of water and hope you don't notice. Real beef flavor that actually tastes like, well, beef. Makes sense, right? At $4.92 for 8 hot dogs, you're paying slightly more than Oscar Mayer or Ballpark. But here's the thing. You're not paying a luxury markup. You're paying for ingredients your grandmother would recognize. The flavor profile has this subtle spice hit that Nathan's doesn't quite deliver. It's like comparing a good deli sandwich to cafeteria food. Both might fill you up, but only one makes you want seconds. Hebrew National delivers that satisfying chew without turning into mush the moment it hits the grill. For older Americans who actually care about what's going into their food, this brand offers ingredient transparency that cheaper options simply can't match. But what if you want to go even more premium? Here's the thing about grass-fed beef. Most people think it's just marketing fluff until they actually taste it. Well, Teton Waters Ranch just proved them wrong with their 100% grass-fed beef hot dogs that cost $6.99 and deliver flavor complexity that'll make you question every hot dog you've eaten before. These aren't your typical grocery store giants. They're deliberately smaller. But that's the point. Concentrated beef flavor in every single bite. When you cook one up, you get this satisfying snap followed by layers of taste that actually make sense. There's the classic hot dog flavor you expect, then this subtle grassiness that doesn't taste weird or hippie-ish. It just tastes like better beef. But here's what really separates them from the pack. Grass-fed cattle produce different fat ratios than grain-fed, which means less greasy residue and more actual flavor hitting your taste buds. Your mouth notices immediately, even if you can't explain why. Think about it this way. You've probably been buying the same brand for decades, right? Maybe Oscar Mayer or Ballpark, because they're good enough. Then you try Teton Waters Ranch and suddenly realize you've been settling for elevator music when you could have been listening to a real band. For folks willing to spend a little extra on one truly excellent product, instead of 3 mediocre ones, these justify every penny. Sometimes quality actually costs less in the long run. Speaking of value, though, there's one brand that completely flips the price versus quality equation on its head. Costco's Kirkland Signature beef hot dogs are basically the Rolls-Royce of the hot dog world, except they cost less than a cup of coffee. How's that for defying logic? At the Costco food court, you can grab one of these beauties for $1.50. That price hasn't budged since 1985. Meanwhile, your morning newspaper costs more than that now. But here's where it gets interesting. The retail version you take home is even bigger than what they serve at the food court. When you bite into a Kirkland dog, something magical happens. It doesn't split like a cheap suit. It doesn't turn into mush like those discount brands we talked about earlier. Instead, you get this perfect char on the outside while the inside stays juicy and flavorful. The beef quality here puts most premium brands to shame. We're talking about hot dogs that actually taste like beef, not like they were assembled in a science lab. And the size? These things are substantial enough to make a meal, not just a snack. For folks on fixed incomes, Kirkland proves that sometimes the best deals hide in plain sight. Your Costco membership practically pays for itself just in hot dog savings. That's not marketing fluff. Do the math on what you'd spend buying inferior hot dogs elsewhere. The weird part is how consistent they are. Whether you're grilling at home or grabbing lunch at the food court, you know exactly what you're getting. But even Kirkland isn't the only store brand worth your attention. Trader Joe's hot dogs deserve a spot on your shopping list. And here's why most people miss this gem. Their organic grass-fed, uncured beef hot dogs use 100% beef and skip the mystery ingredients that make cheaper brands taste like they were assembled in a chemistry lab. Well, the flavor hits different. You get natural beefiness with a decent snap that doesn't require you to pretend it tastes good. Unlike those mushy discount brands that fall apart faster than your retirement portfolio in 2008, these actually hold together on the grill. But here's what makes Trader Joe's smart shopping for older Americans. The ingredient list reads like actual food instead of a pharmaceutical catalog. No nitrates, no weird fillers, no wondering what you're actually eating. Makes sense, right? The price sits between throwaway value brands and premium options, but you waste less money overall. Better quality means fewer hot dogs tossed in the trash or nights where you end up ordering pizza because dinner was disappointing. And the weird part is, Trader Joe's hot dogs are widely available in their stores, making them one of the most accessible, better option franks, without hunting specialty markets or paying shipping costs. They hit that sweet spot between quality, availability, and price. Not revolutionary, but consistently good enough that you'll stop settling for brands that taste like regret. Think of them as the reliable friend who always shows up when they say they will. Now let's wrap this up with what really matters when you're standing in that grocery store aisle.